Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. If you're interested in philosophy and how human relationships shape our lives, you're in for a treat. We're diving deep into the life and work of one of the most influential thinkers of the 20th century, Martin Buber. In this video, we'll explore his fascinating journey, the essence of his philosophy, and some of his most impactful quotes. So, sit back, relax, and let's unravel the story of Martin Buber together. Martin Buber, the story of a philosopher and his philosophy. Martin Buber was born on February 8, 1878, in Vienna, Austria. His life unfolded during a time of immense social, political, and intellectual change, which no doubt shaped his philosophical ideas. But to truly understand his thoughts and writings, we need to start at the very beginning. Early life and education. Buber came from a Jewish family, but his early life was marked by deep internal struggles. His parents separated when he was very young, and he lived with his mother, who had a strong influence on his intellectual and spiritual development. Buber studied philosophy and Jewish mysticism, particularly the teachings of the Hasidic tradition, and became deeply interested in the relationship between individuals and their environment. He spent much of his life in close connection with Jewish communities, especially in his later years, where he focused on the revitalization of Jewish life and culture. However, his philosophy didn't just dwell in the confines of Judaism. It reached into universal themes of human existence, relationships, and the nature of reality. Buber's philosophy. The I-thou and I-it relationship, one of the key components of Buber's thought, is his exploration of the nature of relationships, encapsulated in his famous concept of the I-thou and I-it relationship. In his groundbreaking work, I and Thou, 1923, Buber argued that human existence is defined by two fundamental ways of relating to the world, the I-thou and the I-it. This is the way we relate to the world as an object, a tool, or something, separate from ourselves. It's transactional, functional, and detached. In the I-it relationship, everything is reduced to its utility or role in our lives, a thou. This, on the other hand, represents a more profound mutual relationship. It's not transactional. It's a genuine encounter where both parties are fully present and engaged. The I-thou relationship is built on dialogue, empathy, and shared humanity. Buber believed that the most meaningful experiences in life are those in which we engage in I-thou relationships, whether with other people, nature, or God. He argued that these relationships are the key to understanding the true essence of life itself. The role of God in Buber's philosophy. Buber's Jewish background heavily influenced his spiritual philosophy, but his conception of God was unique. He believed that God could be experienced directly in the I-thou relationship. In fact, for Buber, God wasn't an abstract, distant figure, but rather a living, dynamic presence that one could encounter in every moment. Buber's most famous work on this subject is I and Thou, where he writes, "In the beginning was the relation." For Buber, God is not a thing to be known in the traditional sense. Instead, he is the ultimate Thou, the eternal presence with whom humanity can enter into a relationship. This view opened up new pathways for understanding the divine, one that was deeply personal, relational, and experiential. Philosophical influence and later works. Martin Buber's philosophical journey didn't stop with I and Thou. He continued to explore themes of human connection, dialogue, and the nature of being in several other works. One of his other major contributions is his exploration of Jewish mysticism and Hasidism in The Way of Man, 1947. In this text, Buber examines the role of the individual within the larger community, emphasizing the importance of personal responsibility and moral integrity. In The Prophetic Faith, 1949, Buber explores the idea of prophecy and its relevance to modern life, suggesting that true prophecy involves a radical openness to truth and justice. Famous quotes from Martin Buber. All real living is meeting. This quote encapsulates Buber's belief that true life occurs when we engage with others in meaningful, authentic ways. The world is a relational world. For Buber, everything in existence is defined by its relationships. This quote points to the central role of interaction in shaping reality. I am not alone because I am with you. I am alone because I do not find you. This reflects the idea that loneliness arises not from physical isolation, but from the inability to truly connect with others. The primary thing is not to see the world through the lens of objects, but to engage with it as a living entity. Here, Buber challenges us to see the world through relationships rather than through detached observation. In the beginning was the relation, a profound insight into the nature of creation and human existence, where relationship precedes all else. To open the door to the world is to open it to others, and the other is God. This quote links human relationships with the divine, highlighting the sacredness of every genuine encounter. The Thou meets me at the limit of my being, and at that meeting I am fully human. A powerful statement about how relationships define our humanity. True communication is not when one speaks to another, but when both find themselves together in the same place. Buber underscores the idea of true dialogue, where both participants meet in shared understanding. Martin Buber's Ich und Du, I and Thou, summary, Martin Buber's Ich und Du, translated as I and Thou, is a groundbreaking philosophical work that explores the nature of human relationships and our connection with the world around us. Published in 1923, the book has since become a cornerstone of existentialist and relational philosophy. In this work, Buber introduces his famous dichotomy between the I-thou and I-it relationships, which serve as the foundation for his entire philosophy. Core concept: the I-thou and I-it relationship at the heart of Buber's philosophy lies. The distinction between two types of relationships, the I-thou and the I-it. These two modes of being highlight different ways in which individuals relate to themselves, others, and the world. The relationship. The I-thou relationship represents a deep, mutual, and meaningful connection between two beings. In this relationship, both parties are fully present and engage with each other in a way that transcends objectification. The I-thou encounter is not utilitarian. It is about genuine dialogue, presence, and openness. Buber views this type of relationship as the most authentic form of human connection, one that allows for the fullest realization of both parties. It relationship. In contrast, the I-it relationship refers to the way in which we interact with the world as objects or tools. Here, the other is seen not as a subject in its own right, but as something to be used, controlled, or experienced from a distance. This relationship is transactional and utilitarian, and it lacks the depth of the I-thou encounter. Buber argues that the more we engage in I-thou relationships, the more we are able to experience the world and others in their true essence. In the I-it mode, the world becomes fragmented and devoid of real meaning. In the I-thou mode, however, we encounter the world as a living, interconnected whole. Theological implications for Buber: the I-thou relationship extends beyond human interactions to include a relationship with God. He posits that God, like the other, is a thou, with whom we can engage in a dynamic and meaningful relationship. In Ich und Du, Buber writes, "In the beginning was the relation." This statement signifies that the essence of existence is not found in isolated beings, but in the relationships that connect them. For Buber, the ultimate thou is God, and our relationship with the divine is just as real and tangible as our relationships with other people. Buber's conception of God is not as a distant, abstract entity, but as a living, dynamic presence with whom one can have an intimate, ongoing encounter. In this view, God is not merely something to believe in or worship from afar. Rather, God is experienced through active engagement and relational dialogue. Philosophical and ethical dimensions. Buber's philosophy also has significant ethical implications. The I-thou relationship calls for openness, empathy, and the willingness to meet others as they truly are. This is in stark contrast to the I-it mode, which reduces others to mere objects or instruments. In an I-thou relationship, one must approach the other with respect, acknowledging their inherent worth and dignity. This relational approach to ethics also extends to the way we relate to the world and to nature. Buber challenges the modern tendency to view the natural world as a resource to be exploited, instead encouraging a view that sees nature as something with which we can engage in meaningful, respectful dialogue. Buber's influence and legacy had a profound impact on 20th century philosophy, theology, and psychology. Buber's emphasis on the relational nature of existence influenced existentialists like Martin Heidegger and Jean-Paul Sartre, as well as theologians such as Paul Tillich. His work also contributed to the development of humanistic psychology, particularly through the work of Carl Rogers, who drew on Buber's ideas of dialogue and authentic communication in his own therapeutic practices. Buber's ideas continue to resonate today, especially in discussions about the importance of empathy, mutual respect, and the deep connections that define the human experience. In summary, Martin Buber's Ich und Du presents a profound vision of human existence rooted in relationality. The I-thou relationship represents the fullest form of human engagement, and through it, Buber reveals a way of living that emphasizes presence, empathy, and a deep connection with others and the world. His work invites us to reconsider how we interact with those around us and challenges us to seek authenticity and meaning in our relationships. Summary of Tales of the Hasidim. The Early Masters by Martin Buber. Tales of the Hasidim. The Early Masters is a collection of Jewish mystical stories compiled by Martin Buber, first published in 1947. In this work, Buber presents the teachings and stories of the early Hasidic masters, also known as the Tzaddikim, who were revered spiritual leaders in the 18th and 19th centuries in Eastern Europe. The collection provides insight into the mystical, ethical, and spiritual teachings of Hasidism, a Jewish movement that emphasized personal connection with God, inner spiritual experience, and joy in worship. The Hasidic movement, Hasidism, emerged in the early 18th century as a response to the rigid, intellectual, and legalistic nature of mainstream Jewish practice. Its founder, Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov, emphasized the importance of direct personal experience of the divine and focused on spirituality over religious law. Hasidism also placed a strong emphasis on community, joy, and the concept of finding the divine presence in everyday life. In Tales of the Hasidim, Buber collects the stories of the early masters, the first generation of Hasidic leaders who helped spread and solidify the movement. These tales reveal the spiritual insights, moral teachings, and mystical experiences of the Hasidic masters, illustrating the transformative power of their spiritual practices and their deep connection with God. The structure of the book is divided into different sections, each focused on a particular master or group of masters. The stories are presented in a narrative form and often illustrate key Hasidic values such as humility, joy, love, and faith. They also emphasize the mystical idea that everything in life, both the mundane and the extraordinary, contains a divine spark. Each story in the book is a window into the worldview of the Hasidic masters, showing how they understood their relationship with God, their community, and the world around them. Buber's aim in collecting these stories was not merely to provide historical information, but to convey the spiritual richness and wisdom of the Hasidic tradition. Themes and lessons in the stories. Several key themes emerge throughout the tales. The power of prayer and devotion. Many of the stories highlight the importance of prayer and the deep connection that the Hasidic masters had with God. Prayer is not just a formal ritual, but a means of expressing one's deepest emotions and intentions. In some stories, the master's prayers are portrayed as having a miraculous effect, demonstrating the potency of heartfelt devotion, faith, and humility. The Hasidic masters are often depicted as models of humility. Many of the stories illustrate their willingness to serve others and their recognition that their spiritual power came not from personal greatness, but from their relationship with God. They were humble servants of God and often treated others with great compassion and care. The importance of community. Hasidism placed a strong emphasis on the importance of community. The stories often depict the relationship between the master and his followers, showing the deep spiritual bonds that formed within these communities. The masters were seen as guides and sources of spiritual strength for their followers, and the communities themselves were seen as places where individuals could experience God's presence, joy, and celebration. Hasidism is often associated with a joyful, celebratory attitude toward life. Many of the tales emphasize the importance of finding joy in worship, even in the midst of hardship. The Hasidic masters are shown as celebrating God's presence with dancing, singing, and festivity, reflecting the belief that joy is an integral part of the spiritual life. Divine presence in everyday life, one of the central mystical teachings of Hasidism, is the idea that God's presence is not confined to sacred spaces, but can be found in all aspects of life. The Hasidic masters are depicted as seeing the divine in everything, from nature to human interactions, and as encouraging their followers to do the same. The role of Buber's interpretation in Tales of the Hasidim. Buber does not simply retell the stories as they were passed down in Hasidic tradition. He interprets them in a way that emphasizes their philosophical and spiritual lessons. Buber himself was deeply influenced by Hasidic thought and saw the movement as offering a direct and intimate relationship with the divine, one that bypasses the intellectual and institutional barriers that often separate people from God. His interpretation of these stories emphasizes the universal aspects of Hasidic teachings, namely, the emphasis on personal experience, spiritual authenticity, and the power of love and joy in religious life. Tales of the Hasidim. The early Masters offers readers a window into the mystical and deeply spiritual world of Hasidism. Through these stories, Buber provides an introduction to the wisdom and teachings of the Hasidic Masters, highlighting their emphasis on humility, faith, community, and the search for divine presence in everyday life. The tales, rich in mystical teachings, encourage readers to seek a deeper connection with the divine and to cultivate a life filled with joy, love, and spiritual authenticity. For anyone interested in Jewish mysticism, spirituality, or the Hasidic tradition, Tales of the Hasidim remains an essential work that captures the heart and soul of a transformative religious movement. Summary of Between Man and Man by Martin Buber, Between Man and Man, originally published in 1947, is a collection of Martin Buber's writings on the nature of human relationships and dialogue. The book serves as an extension of the ideas Buber introduced in his earlier work, I and Thou, 1923, diving deeper into the importance of interpersonal relationships, communication, and mutual understanding. In this collection, Buber continues to explore the essence of human existence and the transformative power of authentic connection between individuals. Central themes: the I-Thou relationship in action, Buber's foundational concept of the I-Thou. Relationship from I and Thou is central to the ideas presented in Between Man and Man. In these writings, Buber extends the concept to broader human interactions, arguing that all genuine human relationships must be based on an I-Thou encounter, where both individuals recognize each other as full, unique persons. The I in this relationship is fully open to the Thou, and this creates a moment of mutual respect, presence, and engagement. The I-Thou relationship, Buber argues, transcends transactional or functional exchanges. It is about being present with another person as a full subject, acknowledging the other's humanity without reducing them to an object or role. This kind of interaction can take place not just between two people, but also with God, nature, and the world. The importance of dialogue. Buber emphasizes the significance of dialogue in authentic relationships. Dialogue is not merely the exchange of words, but an act of mutual openness, where both parties come into contact with each other's inner reality. Through dialogue, individuals move beyond surface-level communication and engage in a deeper, more meaningful way. Dialogue, for Buber, is the primary way in which human beings can encounter each other and establish true understanding. Buber's vision of dialogue is also rooted in his belief that every true encounter with another person has the potential to transform both individuals. Each person brings their own unique perspective and identity into the relationship, and the dialogue that arises can reveal new insights, challenge assumptions, and foster personal growth. The concept of the between, one of Buber's key concepts in Between Man and Man, is the idea of the between, the space that exists between people in every relationship. This between is not merely a void or an empty space, but a dynamic living field in which individuals can meet, share, and understand one another. It is in this space that true dialogue happens. The between is what makes human connection possible, as it represents the relational quality of human existence. Ethics of human relationships. In his writings, Buber also delves into the ethical implications of his philosophy. If the essence of human life is found in the way we relate to others, then it follows that ethics must be grounded in the quality of our relationships. For Buber, ethics is not about adhering to a set of rules, but about living with authenticity and being fully present in every relationship. It is through genuine, mutual relationships that individuals can fulfill their moral responsibilities to others and the world. Buber argues that true ethics demands that we recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person we encounter. By engaging in I-thou relationships, we create the conditions for an ethical life that honors the humanity of others. The role of the I-it relationship. While Buber places much emphasis on the I-thou relationship, he acknowledges that the I-it relationship also plays a role in human life. The I-it relationship is where one treats another as an object or tool, often for personal gain or utilitarian purposes. However, Buber warns that the I-it mode should not dominate human interactions, as it leads to alienation and dehumanization. The challenge is to recognize when we are slipping into an I-it relationship and to shift toward I-thou encounters where we see others as fully human rather than as objects. Buber sees the tension between these two modes as a fundamental aspect of human life, and the ethical task is to cultivate more I-thou moments in our daily existence, the role of love and compassion in I. Between man and man, love and compassion are seen as key elements in fostering I-thou relationships. Love for Buber is not just an emotion or romantic attachment, but a deep commitment to the well-being and flourishing of the other person. True love is a recognition of the other's inherent value and a willingness to enter into a deep, transformative relationship. Compassion, too, plays a crucial role in Buber's vision of human connection. Compassion is the active concern for the suffering of others and the desire to alleviate that suffering. Buber's vision of community and society. Buber also extends his ideas of I-thou relationships to the broader community and society. He believes that society can only be truly just and humane if it is built on the foundation of mutual respect and dialogical relationships. The ethical task, therefore, is to create a world where I-thou relationships can flourish, where individuals see each other as subjects, not objects, and engage in genuine dialogue. Buber's philosophy calls for a radical shift in how we view each other and our relationships. It challenges the modern, individualistic, and transactional mindset that often dominates social interactions and asks us to cultivate a more compassionate, relational approach to life. Between Man and Man offers a profound exploration of the nature of human relationships and dialogue. Martin Buber's vision of the I-thou relationship challenges us to move beyond surface-level interactions and to engage with others on a deeper, more authentic level. His work invites us to reflect on the way we relate to the world, urging us to prioritize compassion, mutual respect, and the ethical responsibility we have to one another. Through dialogue, love, and an openness to the between, Buber encourages us to create a world where genuine human connection can thrive. For anyone interested in existentialism, humanism, and the philosophy of relationships between man and man remains an essential work that continues to inspire and guide thinkers and practitioners today. The legacy of Martin Buber's philosophy continues to resonate deeply with us today. In a world that often feels fragmented and disconnected, his teachings about the importance of genuine relationships, both with others and with the divine, offer a powerful reminder of what it means to be truly alive. His belief that the essence of life lies in the relationships we cultivate invites us to rethink how we engage with the world around us. The I-thou relationship challenges us to move beyond transactional interactions and to see each person and experience as an opportunity for deep, meaningful connection. As we reflect on Buber's work, we are reminded that true understanding comes not from intellectual knowledge alone, but from the living, breathing moments of connection that define our existence. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Martin Buber's life and philosophy. If you found this video thought-provoking, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And, as always, share this with anyone who might be interested in the transformative power of relationships. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.